Hi,
Hi.
how are you today?
Good. How about you?
I'm phenomenal. It's always good to see you.
You too.
So, I'm excited because we are kicking off the inaugural Dr. Deal Junkie live. I'm just first, I want to thank you, Jenna, for opening my eyes to this incredible direct to seller platform. I'm historically and industry wide known as just a poopy pants when it comes to direct to seller. And there's good reason why I've always felt so passionate about direct to seller being the lowest form of marketing that you could possibly do, because it's tough to build relationships that will continue to feed you over and over again. I have seen so many people quit wholesaling because they go direct to seller and they spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on marketing, and they don't get a deal soon enough to compensate them for the money they spent, and then they quit. And so I've seen like the graveyard, the direct to seller graveyard is full of aspiring wholesalers bones. um and I know that's a morbid image, but today we are going to revive all of those dreams. All of those bodies are going to get new life in them because this platform has just been just incredibly powerful. I've had so many people in the Astro community who have adopted Dr. Deal Junkie and the AI curated data. We're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the different level of skip tracing that is in this platform, so you guys can understand it better. But also, I just want to dive into a little bit about direct to seller and like the history of this modality just to begin with. So, Jenna, how long have you done like direct to seller marketing?
See, that was always my niche. So it's just so crazy to hear that you just didn't love it the way I did. So I got into real estate almost 11 years ago, and that was my focus. I mean, I've done things, with working with agents and directly with the MLS, and I'm an agent myself, but I love the direct to seller. I love the person to person interaction. I love negotiating with them. I love building the rapport and credibility. Like that's my personality type. So it just always has been my niche.
And I also like the belly to belly approach of direct to seller. When I was in a seller appointment, I felt comfortable, but it was getting to the appointment which was the heartburn, right? Because it was thousands and thousands and thousands of calls, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and it could really weigh on you if you needed to get a deal done today, right? Like if I got to get a deal done this month in order to survive, right? Uh, that's a really tough place to be in because the cost per contract historically has been so high. So, in the time that you've been in direct to seller before Deal Junkie came to be, what was your experience with the average cost per contract for for one of these types of deals?
I mean, I don't know. I don't have an exact number. I just know that it could be pretty expensive. Just because, I mean, what do you do? How do you find them? I mean,
Right,
do you drive around? Do you? I mean, a lot of people do driving for dollars. A lot of people are just asking for referrals. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And so, with having a software that you can go to one location, that you can find all the different people. Like obviously, yeah, we have active listings on there. You can find the properties that are actively listed, but everything else, they're all off market properties. And if you can
right,
go to one location, find them all. Like this is included in the software. It's not like you have to join the software and then pay extra to find all the people. They're already right there. And if you could
right.
find them all and skip trace them for a matter of cents and then reach out to them, I mean, and when I say my results, like I never want to say them to be braggy. I never want to say them that like there's anything special that I do differently in my market. I'm just in the Pennsylvania market, But I mean, when I skip traced my list, I was getting like 1 out of every 6 people were wanting to sell their property. 1 out of every 10 people. Like when I scroll down my list, it's like I have them highlighted in green, green, green. I mean, it's just the response is just unbelievable. Plus the list that I'm going to show you who I target. Like, yeah, we can target people that are, there's different ways that we can target them. But the list that it's like a recipe. The recipe I'm going to show you guys is the hottest list that I've ever targeted, ever. And I'm just having unbelievable results. Like I have other friends that I'm teaching this stuff to, and they're like somebody who's just a factory worker the other day I was working with, and he just got a $40,000 wholesale. He has another one coming up, and it's like he just started in October. I mean, it's like it's crazy results because the list that we're targeting, it's not the kind of people that you have to beg them to want to sell. Like it's the type that you call them and they're like, "Thank God you called. Thank God that you called me."
And I wanted to, address Nicholas's comment here. Awesome, Nicholas, that you're taking action and that you're, moving forward. I would highly recommend you stay the course. 2 to 3 days is a good start. But understand that this is a game of follow-up. And the facts is that you're going to need to follow up with people. You're going to need to continue to talk to people. Every day is different and every situation is different. And I have called the same list for an entire month. And I've had conversations with people where they said they weren't interested in the beginning of the month and called them back towards the end of the month. And they didn't even remember that I called them in the beginning of the month. And the entire conversation was different. And they went from a no interest to a lead to a sale. So one of the things that you have to understand about this game and what we do here in wholesaling is that it is going to require you to be that person that is not scared of follow-up, that is not scared of consistent effort in one direction. It's truly the only way to get success at this. This is not a sprint, Nicholas. This is absolutely a marathon, and you have to continue the course. You're planting seeds, my brother. You're planting seeds. Those seeds require sunlight. They require water, but they will sprout. And when they sprout, my friend, the tree it grows is beautiful because the leaves are money. So, Jenna, I'm excited because the difference between the data that Deal Junkie provides and other providers, I want to just kind of dive into that right now, and the whole idea of the wholesale scores and the different scoring mechanisms that you guys use to curate the data, which is, I think, the major difference between what Deal Junkie provides and what other list providers provide. Absolutely, Nicholas. Happy to have had that convo. And bro, reach out to me on IG if I can ever be of assistance to you or anything. My team would be happy to help you out. But we are 1000% behind your success here, and we all got your back. Jenna, one of the things that I have noticed about the world that we're in right now is that we have this incredible tool of AI available to us that is just revolutionizing every industry. For instance, in my content game, right? People don't realize this, but those pictures that Bobby posts of me in Florida, they're not me. They're all AI generated. I'm not that fat. My half my body isn't a flamingo. He turned me into a space cowboy. I've never been to space before. But these are all images that Bobby's been able to create on using AI, and it's amazing, right? But that's just not the one cool thing about AI. AI is not just here to help make fun art or to help you with your term paper. AI is a beautiful, beautiful tool that is developing, but it allows us to do exponential amounts of work in short amounts of time. And let me explain this. So in the past, you would get a list from a list provider. Let's just call it a high equity list. So these are people that have owned the property for a certain amount of time, and they have a certain amount of equity in their property. They say they've held it for the last 10 years. Now, we understand that that's going to be a long list, and it's going to be a very costly list to skip trace. If you skip trace 10,000 records, you're probably sitting at around $1,500 in skip tracing fees for a 10,000 record list. And that list is not going to typically result in a deal immediately. You're going to need to do two of that, at least two of that. So what we found is that you'll buy this list, you'll do your marketing for a month. You're probably going to be at about $3,500 for that month. And you're going to have to continue doing this for about 90 days until you actually extract your first deal. That's the traditional approach for cold calling, using direct to seller lists like a high equity list. And so the average cost per contract is sitting somewhere around $7,000. What Deal Junkie has done is it's applied AI filters to all of those lists. And you guys have been compiling the data points for over 40 years. How did this even begin, Jenna? How did the accumulation of all these different data points begin with you guys to get us to a point where we've got 40 years of historical data to filter our list through?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're a very techie company, and there's some like really cool things when we talk about AI that where we're headed. I mean, we can talk about it on an upcoming call. We have goals where we're going to have AI do calling and do a lot of really cool things coming up is some of our goals. But how we kind of came upon it is we had to figure out a way to separate ourselves from everybody else. And so what we've done, like you had mentioned about 40 years, like what we've done is we purchased over 40 years worth of real estate sales data. So every house that is sold in the country since the 80s until now, we own all of the financial information on every seller and all the property details on every property. So we're talking billions and billions of data points. And then we're looking at things like, it's almost like putting together a puzzle, and we're being a detective. And so we're saying, okay, this house sold. So what happened to that person that caused them to want to sell? And
Mm.
so I mean, it's kind of like we're Deal Junkie, but we're a detective at the same time. And so we're
So
looking at all their finances. Go ahead.
it's reverse engineering. So what you guys did is you took 40 years of sales data and then extracted the commonalities between the different sales. So let's just say, for instance, out of all of in the 40 years, if we had a higher likelihood of a sale event if a grandparent passed away in one of these households, or if we had a magazine subscription cancellation in one of these households, or if we had a mail forwarding situation, like say one of the children moved out, say an adult child moved out of a home, we would be able to say, okay, perhaps this house may be too big for this couple now, and there may be a potential sale event. Is that the type of reverse engineering we're talking about here, or how granular does it get?
I mean, it's very creepy. I mean, it's like the stuff if you say something by your phone and you get on Facebook, an ad pops up, it's like that kind of information. Like we're looking at things like their credit card payments. Are they late on payments? Did a main income generator of the household die? Was there a divorce? Like all these different
Are you
parameters.
guys using like search stuff? Like let's just say, for instance, somebody's on their phone and they search, "Why does my wife hate me?" Would that be would that be like something you guys are doing?
That's probably coming. That's like probably phase 2. So
Got it.
I'm sure we're and so what we do is we take all of those billions of data points, we put it into our genetic algorithm that we've created, and then we have all of the data of today's people, like all of today's people information. So we cross-reference it. And we say, all right, we have all this information in the past. History repeats itself. And what we're able to do is almost like put together a pattern. And then what we do is we're able to predict the likelihood of somebody selling their property in the next 90 days based on 40 years worth of proven sales and information history. And so it basically gives them all a sellability score. We score them on a scale of 0 to 1,000. 1,000 is the best on how likely we're going to predict that they're going to sell that property in the next 90 days. So it's fascinating the way it works. I'm a huge skeptic. And so whenever we started integrating, because I'm always the guinea pig, we're always like, okay, we're working on this. Let me test it. Let me test it out. And when it came out, I did a very small campaign because I'm from a tiny little area in Pennsylvania. I focused on absentee owners that had a score of 500 and above. I sent out 59. I had 59 people on my list. I did a real small 2-touch postcard campaign. I had 13 calls that came back. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to be the results of everybody. You may have one call, you may have no calls, you may have 50 calls. I don't know. My results were 13 calls. Out of those, 7 were decent leads that I'd actually want to look at. One of them, since I'm a licensed agent, one of them I was able to refer to another agent. Another one I bought it subject to. All in, I was $307 a month for the mortgage, taxes, insurance. I rent that property out every single month for $750. So for the $82 that I only spent $82 on that campaign. So I mean, we can figure out what my cost was
ROI
on
is
that. So,
good.
yeah, so my $82 I spent, I make over $400 every single month just to see if it worked. Just even like just almost to play devil's advocate with it.
Right.
So
And I got a really exciting text from you the other day, because Jenna continues to test and test and test. And you got your hands on something pretty juicy last week or last month. What happened?
you mean the
Your
creepy,
deal.
scary wholesale,
No, not the
scary
scary
one?
one, the big check you got.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, and I'm going to show you guys the list that I target, but I came across it. I had a lead that came in, and I was like, huh, nobody's going to really want that, but I'll look into it. Put it under contract for 25,000. I got a buyer at 45,000. So, I mean, I ended up paying the closing costs of my end buyer just because I know them personally, but I made over $18,000. And it was, I mean, my campaign was like, I hardly spent anything on it. I mean, and it's going to be based on what you put into it. Like, I know some of the people, you may say, well, I've been doing this for 2 or 3 days, I'm not having the results, but it's going to come down to consistency. It's going to come down to dedicating a certain amount of time every single day to focusing on this, because what
Yeah.
you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. I mean, in the beginning, when I first got into real estate, it can be scary. It can be nerve wracking. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen. But I mean, I was mainly a rehabber. Like, that was my niche. And then
Well, you were on HGTV show, right? Like,
I was, yeah.
and how is that compared to what you're doing right now, prospecting and wholesaling and getting to do stuff like this with idiots like me? What do you prefer? Did you prefer having a camera stuffed in your face all day or a camera in your face all day?
Well, definitely, you're definitely not an idiot. You're like one of my really super cool friends. But
I love you.
doing the TV show, it was fun. I mean, it's something fun to, have on your resume. But I
Yeah.
mean, I was a diehard rehabber. I mean, the house we did was from 1860. It's totally night and day difference. But I love the wholesaling aspect of it because you get your check and you don't have to do any of the actual rehabbing, which I love. And I was leaving so much opportunity out there because I was getting a ton of leads and I can't rehab every house. And what my problem was is I would just, if I couldn't buy it, that was the end of it. And first off, it was a disservice to all the different people that needed help, but it was a disservice to me and my business. Like, my goal this year, and it's not a super big goal because I'm just more now recently getting more into wholesaling because I was a rehabber for 11 years and I did like a minimal wholesaling in the beginning. It just wasn't my niche. And now that I'm in it, like, my goal is to do at least a minimum of one wholesale a month, at least 6 figures this year. And it's going to be an additional stream of what I already have with my rental business and my rehab business and all the other things that I do. So it's just going to be another division. But once I get our transaction coordinator in place and then I can scale out and go bigger and bigger, it's just, I'm learning it now, perfecting it, getting better. And now I'm starting all of my wholesaling in Rhode Island. I have a partner now in Rhode Island that I'm starting to team up with. So now I'm going to be doing, not only Pennsylvania, but it's like a suitcase. You can literally pack it up once you have the knowledge and the education, literally pack it up like a suitcase and go anywhere in the country that you want, which is why this software is so fantastic, because you have nationwide access to all the leads across the country.
Will you pack a suitcase for Arizona and do some lead gen for me too? I'll be your buyer on every deal.
Yeah. Oh, you guys are so competitive in that area. So I have to learn how you guys talk the talk there because we're
Oh, it's
real,
great.
we're country here. So all you have to do is just relate to somebody and they want to sell it. But I hear some of your sellers, they can get pretty tough with you. So I'll have to learn your ways.
Oh, it's good. You just have fun. I think when you just show up genuine and if you're there to really um, be helpful, I don't ever call somebody and try to convince them to sell their house. I think that's there's no such thing as that, right? We're not in a sales situation here. I'm actually just calling to inquire on whether or not there's an opportunity here, or if you've thought about potentially selling. Now, the thing about it is that we're gonna make some calls today, guys. So you're gonna get to hear me in action. So stick around. But we're actually going to show you how Jenna pulls this super list, and then I'm going to call on that list. Here's the beautiful thing about it. I have been in this game a long time, over 20 years. And in, say, the last 10, there have been so many different skip tracing providers that have come and gone into the business. Now, some of them had really good data for a while, and then that data kind of dropped off. And, you know, as of late, until I actually got to use the skip tracing in Deal Junkie, I was having a really hard time. I was doing some live streams where I was doing some cold calling, and I wouldn't be able to reach a single person. And to me, the frustration lies in not being able to even, I'd rather you pick up the phone and say F off than it just be disconnected and no longer in service. You know, like, at least I know that there's human beings on the other line. Because look, you might tell me to beat it today, but unless you tell me to take your number off my list, I'm going to call you back in a week when you're in a better mood. Because I do believe that people are, very, very fluid. Moods are fluid. I mean, for instance, Bobby on my team, he's in a bad mood 4 out of every 7 days. Right. So like, but 3 out of 7 days, he's in a really good mood. Right. So like, I want to call Bobby on one of those 3 days. If I call Bobby on the other 4, I'm sure I'm going to get yelled at. Right. So like, it's knowing things like that. So if you're going to call people and they're not super kind to you, just always know, if they haven't told you to take your number off their list, take the number off your list, try them again in a week. Things change, moods change, life changes, and also motivations change. And that's one of the things that, you really have to take into consideration when you're going direct to seller. But Jenna, if you would, I'd like to kind of display what pulling this list looks like in the platform, because I want those folks who are telling themselves right now that they're not techie, that this is possible. And Dennis, you're right. He is awesome. I'm just playing. I was just using that as an example. But yes, could you show us how to pull this super list that you're talking about? And what is the super list, so that people are aware?
Yeah, and you're able to see my screen okay, Jamil?
Yeah, I see it perfectly.
Okay, perfect. All right, so when you guys log in to your account, you're going to see, and we're going to go on our left side navigation. We're going to go to lead pipes, and we're going to focus on our property leads.
Now,
so
if you guys,
area,
one sec before, Natasha, if you would, you should put a link to Deal Junkie in the chat right now. If you guys don't have Deal Junkie yet, it's probably a good idea for you to join. But you can always refer back to this later on. But I think it's a great idea for you to have the platform up while we are doing this, so that you can follow along. But I apologize for cutting you off, Jenna. Let's begin again.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, that's important. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on our geographic location. This is the area where we can go as big as a whole state. We can put a county in, we can do one city, multiple cities, or just even one physical address if you just wanted to see the data on just one physical property. So what we're going to do is, if we want to go in here and we want to go to Phoenix, we want to go to Phoenix, Arizona. And then you're going to see here, we have all of our different lead types. So as you hover over any of them, it's going to define them. And it's almost like building out a recipe. Like if you guys have ever done any cooking, it's like, we can focus on this. We can focus, on our absentee owners. We can focus on active listings. All these are almost like different recipe combinations. Now I'm going to show you in a second which one I select, which is my absolute favorite. We can focus on who we want to target. So individuals or businesses, trusts, any sort of banking or financial institutions. And you can be extremely picky. Like if you only want single family, then only select single family. If you only want land, then you can only select land. But we can change all these different parameters once we're in here. And if we're just looking only at Phoenix, Arizona, we can see that we have almost 400,000 different properties. Like that's great, but less than 1% of these people even want to sell. Right. So how do we use our magic sifter for us to be able to really weed these out. And so the hottest list that by far that I've targeted recently, and it's, I mean, it's nothing that's like super like rocket science type of stuff. I focus on delinquent tax activity. And then what I do is you're going to see we have this more tab. And this is where we have a lot of flexibility. So we can come in here, look for things like loan maturity date. All these are different ways that we can really sift down the list. But at the all the way at the bottom, you're going to see out of state absentee owner. So this is basically somebody who owns a property that they're not personally living in. And in fact, they don't even live in the same state, and it's sitting there, it's delinquent on taxes. I like to target individuals who own these properties. Yes, we can target, and it depends on your size that you want to target. If you want a bigger list, then throw in businesses, throw in trust. Me personally, I don't like to do a lot of financial, like working and contacting banks. That's just not my niche, but it's not to say that you guys couldn't. So I like to focus on individuals, and maybe my buying criteria, maybe right now I'm only looking for single families. This is again based on what you're buying. Now you can come in here and you can specify, maybe you only want a minimum of a 3-bedroom, or you want it to be 2,000 square feet or less or higher, or you want it to have a certain land size or a certain property value. Like, this is your opportunity to be very, very picky with the system, because I mean, obviously you can. And so we went from over almost 400,000 different people down to 327. And I know, Nicholas, you had said that you had targeted the AI and you weren't having the results that you wanted, but then maybe try this one, like test and track. Like, there are times, like my favorite niche before was always absentee owners. I always focused on that, and I always had great results. But then I started to notice that things were shifting and I wasn't having as high of results that I did. It could have been just the market. It could have been because interest rates were at over 8% and they hadn't been that high in a while. It could have been a lot of things. It could have been because of, what the economy's doing or what illness that's out and about. There's a lot of different parameters. So what I started doing is I started putting myself into the mindset of, what would be somebody who's distressed? Like, what would they look like? What would they be experiencing? And when you have somebody who owns a property, and we can talk about some additional lead sources here there's some additional things, if you guys, in time, if we want to talk about some additional things here, if we want to talk about some things you guys could advance yourself to, there's some additional things that I can show you on upcoming calls. But you want to put yourself into the mindset of this person. They're behind on taxes. They have a property that they don't live in. They don't even live in the same state. Like, they're frustrated, especially, if you're targeting somewhere like Phoenix, your weather is nice. But if I were to target somewhere in Pennsylvania, it's cold. Pipes are freezing. You have utilities that are at all-time high. Like, this isn't the type of list that I call somebody and I'm begging them to sell. This is the type, like I said, you call them and they're like, thank goodness somebody wants this thing, because I'm sick of it. It's nothing but a headache. A lot of times these properties are sitting there vacant at the same time. So nobody's living in it. They're not living in it. It's nothing but a financial burden. And, and like something like 327 people, if we were to select them all, let's select them. We're going to add them into the My.
Yeah. Let's skip trace them. I want to call them.
Yeah. And so what we can do is we can skip trace. You're going to see the cost here. We're going to scroll down. We're going to accept it. I mean, less than $50 for me to call potentially 327 people. Like, for us to do that, like, yeah, we can direct mail them. I mean, but in my opinion, if somebody says you have to pick one, direct mail or skip trace, I was always a direct mail kind of girl, because first off, I was a little timid in the past. I'd like to be able to just send it to them and like, okay, now it's your problem. You have to call me. But now I want to, I want to call them. Like, ball is in my court when I'm skip tracing, because I have the opportunity to call them. I don't have to wait for them. Or if you can do them both at the same time, send them some direct mail and then call them at the same time, because it's going to be a week until they get that letter. So what are you going to do in the week's time? Not just sit there and tap your fingers, start calling them. And then you can reference the letters or the postcards that you're sending. But this is one of the hottest lists. Or if we talk about the artificial intelligence, guys, you'll have access to 10 different artificial intelligence credits in your account. You'll see I redeemed some of mine. This is what we talked about in the beginning of our call, like turning on the AI, the sellability score. So I saw that there were some people that were in the Florida area. So let's go to Florida with some of our credits. You'll come in here. You'll basically say, I want to go to whatever zip code you want. You'll see it be at 0. You'll add it to your cart. And then you'll come in here and you'll say, all right, give me all the people. Let me see here. Ups by 3. Sorry, I typed it in wrong. So you'll come in here, you'll select it. And now when I hit search, you're going to see that all these properties have these color coded numbers. I don't know why this one here on the beginning doesn't have it, but it gives you a good example of what a property would look like if you don't have the sellability score turned on in an area. But if you look down, all the other properties are going to have these color coded numbers, and we score them at a retail level. So how likely are we predicting this property will sell at a normal list price? This is great if you're an agent or if you're looking for more of those retail type of properties. Rental, this is where our system is indicating that that property is either currently a rental or it's in a market where there's a lot of rental opportunity. And then my favorite is wholesale. So how likely is this property going to sell in the next 90 days at a discounted wholesale price? And this is great. Like, we have 6,000 people on our list just in the zip code. That's great that we have all these numbers, but what does it what does it mean in English? So we
Could
come
we
over
could
to
we
our,
now apply those other filters that you just applied to the and see who's behind on taxes and absentee as well on top of this?
yeah. So and that's what I do too. So like,
Oh,
I mean,
that's a
obviously,
super
yeah.
list.
Yeah, you can, and it's so cool. So like, just to show you, like, if we anything above a 500 is worth marketing to. It all depends on how big do you want your list to be. So if we're at a 500 and above, we're around 6,000 different properties. What if we wanted to see those people that were delinquent on their properties and they're an out of state absentee owner? Now we have it narrowed down. And in this situation, it is quality over quantity all day long, because if you could have 91 people that are on our list, that are highly motivated, that are behind on taxes, don't even live in the same state, don't live in that property. I mean, and sometimes when we look at some of these people, like, we may look at this one, like, they own this property free and clear, they bought it in cash. Like, I see that they're delinquent on taxes, but sometimes we'll go down. I mean, obviously all these people will be delinquent on taxes, but even if we got out of this, like, if we turned off the delinquent part, we can see some of them. We come in here, let me turn off, let me go back to the all lead type here. So when we come in here, if we're going to focus on our score of, we'll just say our 500 and above. So we come back here. Some of the people on our list, sometimes it's hard to figure out, why are they on this list? Like, this person, they have high equity in this property. This person, they bought it free. They bought it in cash and they're free and clear. So why do they have a higher AI score? Legally, we can't tell you why they're on the list, but what we can give them is that sellability score, because behind the scenes, they may be behind on their credit card payments. They may have had a main income generator of that household that passed
Right.
away. They may be going through a divorce. There are so many different parameters that we can't see, but we can combine these and make these super lists where I say, I want them to be delinquent, or like, there's times where I focus nothing on the actual lead type, because honestly, I don't care if they live in the house or not. I don't care if it's actively listed. I don't care if they bought it in cash. All I care about, how likely are they to sell? So if I have a list of 6,000, that may be a little much for some of you. So let's be wild and crazy and let's go up in our numbers. What about a 700 and above? The more that we go up, the more motivated these people are. And you can sift them down. Like, you can say, give me all the people that have the highest wholesale number first or last. So if let's say you can only market, you only have a budget to do some direct mail for maybe 25 people. Well, then select this first list of 25, because it's going to give you the highest numbers first. Or if we want to go, let's go to like 900 and above. Like, we may not have a ton. We have 241 different people. Now, guys, when we have a list that we have filtered out that's 900 and above, we go from that less than 1% success rate to a 16.3% success rate, because we do our own look back analysis as a company. Like, what good would AI or anything tech be if you didn't test and track it yourself? So we do our own nationwide analysis where we predict all the different properties across the country. We wait 90 days. So we do this every quarter, and then we cross-reference what's sold versus what we predicted. And if you have a score of 900 and above, we have a 16.3% success rate. So in English, if I have a list of 100 people, our nationwide average says that most likely 16 or 17 of the people on my
Wow.
list of 100 will sell in the next 90 days. It could be 20, it could be 10, but our nationwide average. And so, like, when we have this list here, 241
Amazing.
people, basically we're going to have potentially 50 of these people or more. I'm terrible at math. It's not my jam, but like around probably 50 couple of these people will potentially sell. I can't guarantee it, but they have all the characteristics of everybody in the last 40 years that were in their same exact financial and property situation ended up selling if they were them. And so if you have a list of 241 people, I mean, it's going to cost you a matter of, less than what you and your family could go to McDonald's for and grab dinner. I mean, for you to get their contact information and call them. It's just going to come down to how motivated are you to actually find these people, because they're right here. It's just now it's in the ball is in your court to take action.
The thing that's really interesting about this too, Jenna, is that I was talking to Bobby about this today about, people in their 9 to 5s, and you get addicted to the comfort of your 9 to 5 because it's safe, right? Well, let's be honest. Is it? It's the illusion of safety, because how many times have you seen people change careers or get laid off from a 9 to 5? Right? It happens all the time. Microsoft had major layoffs last week. Like, we're talking huge companies, Fortune 500 companies are laying people off left, right, and center. And so whether or not you're working at Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, whatever it is, or you just work for a corporation in your city, life, business, and things change. And you are literally trading your dreams for the stability and the illusion of what a 9 to 5 offers until they pull your card and it's no longer there. I was on a podcast today with a woman who was in the astro flipping community who was laid off 3 months into her pregnancy. And she'd been with this company for years. And 3 months into her pregnancy, they lay her off. Now she's starting to show she can't get a job anywhere because nobody wants to hire a pregnant lady, because they know she's only going to be there another 5 months before she's going to want maternity leave. And so nobody takes her. And she realizes that the addiction that she had to the comfort of her 9 to 5 was a very toxic addiction. Now you add something like this, a tool like this, where you could spend $150, $200 a month. Let's just get crazy and say you spend $300 a month. Okay. What does that work out to per day? Okay. I think that's $10 a day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you know, I went to Starbucks. I went to Starbucks yesterday and I got a grande soy flat white. And you know what it cost me?
How
Like
much?
almost $10
For a coffee. That's why
for
I
a
don't drink it.
coffee. For a
Wow. Was it
coffee.
good?
Yeah, it's delicious.
Okay.
But to think about that we're so easy it's so easy for us. It's so easy for us to go in and go to a Starbucks and buy a grande soy latte or whatever and put $10 down and then go back to our job that pays us $20 for an hour. So we just gave away half of our hourly wage to the coffee that's in our hand. Yet when you are presented with the solution, look, if you had a list of just 300 people that you called the entire month, the statistics show that 16 out of every 100, so 45 on average of the 300 that are on that list will potentially sell in the next 90 days. Would it not be worth your time while you're working in your 9 to 5 prison? Would it not be worth your time to call those people on your way to work, during your break, when you're on your way home from work, or maybe an hour after you got home from work? Would it not be worth your time to put yourself in a situation where you no longer lived in the illusion of stability of your 9 to 5, but created the stability of having and done your own thing for yourself and your family? That to me is the greatest travesty that's happening in America today. Look, Angie just said UPS is laying off 12,000 people. 12,000 people. That's 12,000 families right now that are wondering, how are we going to make the mortgage payment? How are we going to survive? And my mom, why I'm so passionate about this, Jenna, is that my mom, she was laid off 6 times as I grew up. 6 times. And, I remember the most my mother ever made per hour was $8 in her career. And she worked 2 jobs. At the end before she retired, before we were able to retire her, my mother worked 2 jobs. She worked as a data entry operator in a little sweatshop where she typed in people's information onto their checks. So if, you know, when you order checks from a bank, there's somebody has to type in your name and address and all that stuff. So that was her job during the day. She did 8 hours of that. Then she got on a bus and went 2 hours in another direction and worked in a meat packing factory for another 6-hour shift. That's my mom. And the safety of that was what she put herself in every single day, when there were opportunities like this all around her, but that safety kept her there. And it was miserable. I never got to see my mother growing up. I never got to see her. I was a latchkey kid. I took myself to school, brought myself home, put myself to sleep. Like I didn't have a parent in that regard. I love my mother. It's a travesty what she had to do and sacrifice in order to give my sister and I the opportunities. But listen, if you're sitting here watching this right now, and if you are living in a situation right now where another human being is in control of whether or not you're going to get paid this week or next week, ask yourself, are you really secure? That's the question. I want to get to calling because I really want to highlight how special this data is. And so you had skip traced that super list for me prior to the show, and so I have it now. I'm going to start making some phone calls now, guys. None of this is rehearsed. I have no idea who's going to be answering the phone on there. Some of these calls might be absolutely atrocious. Some of them we'll see how they go, but my goal is at least to have some conversations. I think that's the most important thing, is just to be able to talk to people, right? I want to see where people are, and take it from there. So thank you so much. Let me get on here and get on it. So tell us about this list, if you would, just before I start calling. What are the filters you put on this list for the people joining us?
So for this one, in the past, I've done some really creative lists. This one, we just focused on the AI by itself. So we did a minimum score of 800 and above. So people that potentially have a likelihood to sell. We focus on the wholesale score. So they could be in a tough financial situation. They could be behind on mortgage payments. They could be behind on credit card payments, utilities getting shut off, things like that. So, I mean, we have to understand that people could be defensive. I know that, people had said in the chat, they had focused on AI, but people didn't want to sell. It may be no for now, but it's not no forever. Right. They may think they're okay. They may think they're going to get out of the situation. So we're focusing on those distressed people in the Phoenix, Arizona area. And so
we you can said see some of these are tax delinquent?
No, these ones are not tax delinquent, okay. Not these ones.
All right. Well, let's get to it.
Hello.
Hi, is this Kyle?
Yes, this is Kyle.
Kyle, how's it going? My name is Jamil. I'm calling about that house you've got on Monte Rosa Street in Phoenix, Arizona. Is that still yours?
Yeah.
Any chance that you're thinking of potentially selling that in the next few months? I'm desperately looking for a project for my family to work on, and I thought I'd just take a shot in the dark here and give you a call. I love the West Valley over there, and I was really just hoping to get my hands on something that I could put my my little boy to work on, and him and I could do a project together.
Yeah, you could buy my other house at 16230 North 70th Lane.
Oh, hold on a second. Let me get a piece of paper out here. One sec. Give me that address one more time.
16230 North 70th Lane.
North 70th Lane. Have you put that on the market yet, or is that?
Yeah, it's on MLS.
It's on the MLS. Okay. I'll take a look at it. Are you working with an agent? Would you do something private on that?
I'm not working with an agent, no. But it's just I'm only asking 180, but it's a manufactured home. So
it's a manufactured home. Okay, I'll take a look at that. The one on Monte Rosa, you have no desire in selling ever?
No, we're just holding that.
Understood. Do you do real estate investing by chance?
Yeah.
So you're looking for other properties. If I ever come across a deal that I don't necessarily want or can't take on, could I also keep your phone number in my phone just in case and potentially hand you over a lead?
Yeah, I'm not buying anything right now. I appreciate it though.
Okay, cool. I'll take a look at the house that you have on 70th Lane and I'll give you a call back.
All right, man. Thanks.
Take care.
See you.
Bye. I mean, I
Lead on, like, good number, lead on the first call. I mean,
see, that to me, it was a good number. He answered. It was Kyle. Like that felt so easy. It felt scripted to me. Like there was, how the hell did that even happen that fast?
man, I feel like we need to throw some disconnect numbers in there in the beginning just to make us seem even more
Nicholas
real.
is like, how did you get a lead like that so quick? LOL, bro. I'm telling you, man. Like this is insanity. Malachi asked, "How can you explain the wholesale price?" Yes. So Malachi, what it means when it has a wholesale score? It's not wholesale price, wholesale score. Okay. Is that our price to the seller? Oh, okay. Can you explain the wholesale price? Is that our price to the seller, or is this the buyer's price and we negotiate under it? No. Wholesale price is that is the price you are going to, that's the number you're going to negotiate with the seller with the intention of making around $10,000. So you should build in about a $10,000 to $15,000 assignment fee in your negotiations. I don't go after big spreads. Me ethically, I just feel like I want to give my sellers as much money as I can to make the deal sweet for them. And if I, can make or carve out 10 or 15 grand a deal, I do volume. So that's how I eat. Some people don't do volume. Some people try to buy at deeper discounts. I'm not going to have, look, it's not my business how you operate. Okay. But I feel like if you want to do this in volume, and if you want to have a sleep at night and not have any weird dreams, I would offer as much as I can to the sellers as possible. It just in an ethical standpoint, as long as I can still make the deal work, that's my goal, right? So wholesale price, your wholesale maximum allowable offer. That's typically, and I'm just going to talk about Phoenix. That's typically going to be about 82% of ARV minus rehab minus assignment fee. Okay, which works out to about 68% of ARV if you just want to do a flat rate. And that's on a cosmetic remodel. Okay, so pretty easy to figure that out. Let's keep it going.
These comments are great, Jamil, while I'm waiting for you. They're just fantastic.
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing them.
Bueno.
Hi, is Anna there?
Yes.
Anna, hello. Do you speak English by chance?
No.
No English. Okay. Do you own the property on 69th Drive?
No.
No.
No, no es mine.
That's yours. Would you sell it? Vende?
No.
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 Oh, okay, thanks. Damn it! Why don't I know how to speak Spanish?
You need to learn Spanish.
I do, man. I'm so bad.
Yeah, you even have translators here in the chat for you.
I know,
like that's how amazing.
Dude, what are you saying? Come on. But
she's
here,
like, it's mine.
I know. She's like, it's my house. I'm like, vende. I think that means sell, right? Does that mean sell?
It's a form of yeah.
Okay, so she understood, and she was like, no. But I want to highlight that that's 2 for 2 on the calls. Like, what the flip? Like, this data is crazy.
And I mean, and anybody can select Phoenix, do 800 score and above, and you're going to get this exact same list that you have. The first person on the list is going to be the first person you called. I mean, so
Kyle
it's not.
Wilkinson. It's you guys can check this yourself. I'm calling Ernesto now. Let's see what Ernesto's got to say. This is fun.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless. Your call cannot be completed.
My first one. My first call cannot be completed. I'm happy that there was one at least, because this would just be too good to be true otherwise.
We're sorry you have reached the number that has been disconnected.
All right, 2. Not bad. Let's see what's next. That would be just a callback for later, but on we go.
Hello?
Hello, can I talk to Pedro?
Hello?
Pedro?
Hey,
Hola.
¿qué pasa?
Not too much, man. Can you speak English, brother?
¿Español? ¿Spanish?
Porquito.
Poquito, okay. Siente.
Casa on 89th Avenue.
Ajá.
¿Interesa vender? ¿Vende?
¿Interesa vende? No, no vende.
Maybe?
No vender.
No.
Hoy no.
Okay, gracias.
A usted, pase buen día, adiós.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Man, I just suck. I'm so bad at this. Like, I'm like, Flip, I feel like I'm going to get canceled.
Just imagine how many more deals you could get if you spoke Spanish.
I know, if I just spoke Spanish, right? Like, I need a dude. Oh, he said, somebody said in 6 months. Okay. And did he say in 6 months? Okay, I don't know. Not today. Okay, so that's a lead. That would be something that I would put in my thing to follow up in a few months, but just wasn't there for today. So, but it was Pedro. It was Pedro. He didn't say 6 months. Okay, but it was a good number. So let's keep going. And all these names are Hispanic. I feel like I'm just gonna be making a fool of myself here for the next little while, but whatever. Let's go. Woo! Oh my God. You know, if that was a good number as well. If you have a teammate that speaks, if you're in a market like mine where, there's a predominant second language like Spanish, if you have a teammate that speaks Spanish, you would slay at this. Like, or if you spoke Spanish yourself, my goodness, can you imagine how many deals you'd get? Because I just sound like a complete idiot over here, but if you could at least, if you could speak the language, I mean, you'd kill it. You would kill it. I'm so ashamed of myself right now. I just wish I could speak, and I think I'm going to get Rosetta Stone and I'm going to learn Spanish. Like I feel like I have to now, because this is I'm going to make a mockery of myself if I don't. But this is incredible. This is absolutely insane. Somebody wanted to ask, what does the direct mail engine mean in Deal Junkie, Jenna?
I mean, from what I'm trying to, just from reading that, I mean, our direct mail engine is just basically our, where it's going to divert you. So instead of skip tracing, you can just do our direct mail. So it's going to literally, you click on the direct mail and it will walk you through. It's just a matter of like just a couple steps, all the postcards, all the letters, everything is already in the system. You can upload your own if you have your own templates. But it's just going to literally take the list that we had. And instead of going the skip tracing route, we're just going to go to the direct mail route. And we can send a postcard as low as 49 cents. And you can send a quantity of one. Like you don't have to send 500 of them to get 49 cents. And that includes a stamp too. So, I mean, you guys know what a stamp costs these days, plus the postcard, double-sided, color glossy. They go out first class mail. So it's a really inexpensive way for you guys to get your marketing done out there.
I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed with what we were able to just look. First call right out the gate, it's a lead, right? I have never done that before. Right out the gate, I have never like got a lead right out the gate, right? So I've got a house, he's got it listed. I'm talking directly to the owner. I'm going to take a look at that house and I'm going to call him back and I'm going to give him an offer on it. That's the number I need it to be at. And if we can make a deal, we make a deal. So first and foremost, that's amazing. Second, the number of hits we got on the phone numbers was just mind blowing to me. There's not a single skip tracing service out there that hits that well. Jenna, I have been doing a live stream every other week where for 15 minutes every day I would call and I wouldn't talk to a single person.
Well, that's a bummer, but good thing now you can.
I agree. I agree. What we do understand, guys, is that because of the AI that this Deal Junkie software enmeshes onto the data, we have a 16x chance, 16 times more likely that a seller is going to sell, meaning that we are going to spend 1/16 of what we would spend to get a deal. And that's going to get your cost per contract into the hundreds, like a couple hundred, $200 to $300 versus thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I just need you guys to understand and wrap your head around it when you understand that, yes, there is a cost to the system. The system is $997 for the year. $997 for the year is a drop in the bucket for the potential that you get working with this platform. I've seen nothing like it in the years. I've been in this business for over 2 decades, and I have yet to find something this effective in direct to seller marketing. I'm proud to put my name on it. I'm truly proud to put my name on it. Now, Natasha is putting the link in the chat, guys. I highly recommend that you guys download the software and have it ready for next week, because next week we're going to be pulling a new list, and I want to give this list away, but I want to show you guys how Jenna is adding these layers of filtration on it so that you have the most concentrated list available so that you're not wasting your time. Look, dedicate 45 minutes to an hour of this a day. Your future depends on it. Your family will thank you when you get that next $20,000, $30,000, or $40,000 check, because you gave yourself the gift of A, being efficient, B, believing in yourself, and not selling out for the comfort of what you think is just going to be this illusion of a job. I'm telling you, this business is one of the most rewarding businesses I've ever had the pleasure of being involved in. And what you guys have done here with the data is just second to none. So really appreciate this. Jenna and I are going to be doing this every other Thursday, guys. So if you guys have a market that you'd like us to call in, put that in the chat right now, and Jenna and I will pull a list in that one of those markets next week or the week after next. But we're going to keep doing this, and I'm going to keep showing you guys the power of direct to seller, the power of Dr. Deal Junkie. This is the most incredible direct to seller platform I've ever been able to put my hands on. And I'm happy to be representing it. I'm happy to be able to be making these calls. It's beautiful. So we got somebody voting for Boise, Palmdale, San Antonio. San Antonio, San Antonio. Let's go San Antonio.
Yeah, you got to learn your Spanish there too. Isn't that going to be a lot of Spanish?
Well,
So
I like
maybe we can have
making a
one of
fool of
these.
myself.
Maybe we can have one of these guys join us too, and then they can be
Hey,
the Spanish
I
translators, huh?
love that. I love that. Hey, who wants to join us next week and make some calls? Put your name in the chat and we'll bring you up. That's what we're going to do. Next week, there we go. Next week, we're going to put a link in the chat. We're going to bring up somebody who speaks Spanish, and we're going to be making these calls together. Now, guys, again, one more time, Rogelio said he's going to be here. Rogelio, we're waiting for you, man. You're the guy. You're our guy next week, the week after next. Natasha's going to put the link in the chat one more time, guys. Make sure you download Dr. Deal Junkie, the best direct-to-seller platform available. You're 16 times more likely to get a deal using this software than you are any other platform. For the expense that this costs, it's under $1,000. You owe it to your future self. You owe it to your ability to actually pop that gate in your prison right now that you're living in, that 9 to 5, and just get out there and be financially free. There is nothing better in the world. Jenna, I love you.
Love you more.
I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Alrighty.
All right.
See you guys.
See you guys.